Good
Hi,
morning.
Rankin.
Hi, Masana. Good morning, Mike. Oh boy, yes, Mike.
Yes.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, everybody out there on the internet, on the radio 94.5, 93.7, the wave. Welcome to Dazzle Hangout. Today we have none other than Johanan Dujon, who is the managing director of Algas Total Plant Tonic, a biostimulant from, well, how you pronounce it? Sargassum?
Sargassum
Right,
Seaweed.
that's right.
Yeah.
And the company is 6 years old, approximately. Johanan made the history by being the first Caribbean national to create a bioorganic product from the destructive Sargassum Seaweed, which has been washing up on the East Coast for how many years now?
Wow.
A long time.
Probably 8 years now, right? In 2017, he was awarded the Young Entrepreneur Award at the Saint Lucia Business Awards, and he is currently partnered with the Saint Lucia Fish Folk Cooperative Society to reduce the impact of Sargassum seaweed on the livelihood of fishermen. Right? They mobilize fisher folk to collect sargassum for processing by algas. So I will just let Johanan take it away and tell us about, his journey from the time we've interviewed him to now, because I know a lot has happened over the past 6 years, right? When we drive along the East Coast, especially in Dennery, Prale, we actually feel and even smell the effects of the sargassum seaweed, especially when it more or less accumulates on the shores, right? I've seen it like it turns from, let's say, the brownish color that it has into a dark red burgundy, probably even black when it decomposes, and it has that stench, and the stench that we smell is, what's it called? Sulfur?
It's hydrogen sulfide.
Hydrogen sulfide.
I wasn't paying attention in chemistry and all, you know.
So, we let
The man himself.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Johanan. Thank you so much. I know you're a busy man, but it's nice to have you stop by in studio and hang out with us this Wednesday. And I mean, your company has been doing so much. You've been doing so much to transform the agricultural landscape and, fishing communities, farming communities around the island. So thank you so much for joining us. Let's just find out a little more about you. We hear about the company and you winning awards and recognized all over the place, but let's just focus on you, the person.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Good morning, everyone. Me as a person, what can I say? I love cricket and football, and I just love to work hard, man. It's just what it is. I like to exploit opportunities, and I don't see myself as somebody who looks at adversity as something as, some sort of a hindrance. I firmly believe that, everybody has within their purview or within their sphere of control actions they can take to change, their reality into something that they actually want. That's something that's actually desirable, right? So that's me as a person. Hardworking, cricket, football every day of the week, and yeah.
You have the time to do for cricket and football?
You have to, right?
You have to.
You don't wanna you wanna be healthy, right?
Right.
You have to balance some aspects of that.
Okay, so you're not all work. There's play in there as well.
Maybe 1% play.
All right. So let's talk about how you got about forming this company, Algas Organics. How did it start? Did you have a background? Because that's heavy. It's a genius idea. I'm sure you've heard that for the past couple of years. But how did that all come about? Was it something that you've always been passionate about to get into that world, or how did it work out?
Guess what? I grew up in the Roseau Valley, and I wasn't into agriculture at all. As a matter of fact, I remember growing up, I would tell my dad, man, all of these banana trees, it's not profitable. Maybe they should cut that down and develop that into real estate. So that's a big U-turn for me to actually be interested in agriculture. But I got into the whole Algas thing, so to speak, started the company because I saw a real problem, and I saw how it was affecting the fishermen and the the coastal residents from Micoud, Dennery, Prale, heading all the way down. And I knew that I had to be the one to do something about it. That's just what it was, because I went to some of the agencies at the time, and we have the approach was, man, there's nothing we can do about it, and I didn't believe that. I thought that, you know, with some research and actually putting some effort into it, something could be done. So that was the basis on which we started Algas Organics. It was a division that, you know, taking it and throwing it away. There's more seaweed than there's state funds in any island to deal with the issue. There's more seaweed than money any day of the week. And so, and everybody who lives in these communities can tell you that you spend whatever you spend to pick it up, tomorrow there's more on the beach. It's like you were never there. And so the plan then was to develop a system that would keep the beaches clean, create employment, 2, and 3, make it self-sustaining. So to date, we have had very little, you know, intervention outside of a few grant agencies, etc., to get to where we are. And that's because the system is self-sustaining. You create jobs, you create impact in terms of reducing or mitigating the emissions of hydrogen sulfide on people in the communities. But you also create a product, which is sold island-wide in Saint Lucia and exported to a few other countries, which funds the whole thing. So when people buy a bottle of Algas, they're not just buying, and I want to say thank you to everyone for the support locally especially. You know, when you buy a bottle of Algas, you're not supporting a miracle grow, and you're supporting a local company that's creating jobs in Dennery, Miku, and Prale, and Viewfort, and you're also helping keep Prale clean. And there's more than we can handle now, but as we grow over time, there won't be enough seaweed in Saint Lucia for us, I promise you that.
Wow. Now, I mean, what you're saying is so impressive, but it also speaks to the individual that you are, because a lot of people have ideas to have this big business and I'm going to change the world and I'm going to fix this problem, whatever. But the magnitude of what you decided to take on is a lot. And I guess that speaks to the type of individual that you are. Your mental, you know, you see something, no matter how difficult it may be, you went for it.
For sure, for sure. You know, and that's the thing, you know, things don't go exactly as you plan, you know, it's, but the from the onset, because I thought in the initial stages we would have gone to the governments of the different islands and said, hey, you know, we have this idea, you know, it didn't work out that way, but, and I was just speaking to some young graduates from Corn Secondary recently, last week, and I made the point to them, you know, if what you have in mind doesn't work out, are you going to give up? And it's not just business, right? If you wanted to be a doctor and you fail that first exam, are you going to just say, okay, well, I don't want to be a doctor anymore? Or I wanted to do something and it didn't work out. So it's a matter of being intrinsically motivated, 1, and 2, staying true to your vision, man. It's never going to work out exactly as you planned, but it always works out better.
But my question is, how did you start that process? Yeah, you had that vision and you know that's what you wanted to do, but how did you, because for me that's a mammoth project.
That's huge, like from going from
say,
point A to B.
Yeah, it's for you saying like, yeah, I knew I was the one to more or less help with the reduction of the seaweed. You know, how do you take it from, okay, you saying that, to more or less doing your research, getting the necessary equipment,
the funding, like
even the training to train individuals how to convert that seaweed into whatever the products are, right? How did you get to that stage and how long did it take you?
It took us 12 months, non-stop experimentation. And so here's what, there's a very big chasm between idea and implementation, and people get caught up in what you call analysis paralysis. So there's so many things that you have to take on. It's like, man, which one do I do? Well, when I got the idea, first thing we said to my dad, look, we need to collect some seaweed, right? That's action step number 1, because you can have the idea but you can't do anything without seaweed. So we collected a van load, and we started experimenting with it over a 12-month period, so trying to dry it off. The first product we made failed miserably. People don't know that. We used to dry it off, kind of shred it up and sell it in bags. That, you know, we would sit in front of a Super J. It was Super J at the time, Super J Sunny Acres. And people would look at us as if we were crazy, man. What are these people selling? What are people doing? So there are a lot of failures along the way, but it moved from that to, okay, that's not working. What are we going to do next? Again, if what you had in mind doesn't work, what are you going to do? So it moved from collecting the first van load, trying to dry and shred it up and sell it. That didn't work. And then the next idea was, okay, how do we extract whatever the good stuff is in there, the biostimulant properties, the micronutrients, etc. How do we get that out of the plant? Because even if the first idea failed, farmers would still buy the seaweed and put it in their soil, and they'd say, man, when I use my chemicals, I get a faster response, but the seaweed I'm putting in there, you get a response, it just takes longer.
Okay.
So what hit me was just common sense. Okay, clearly there's something in there that's giving the effect.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get it out in a concentrated form?
Mm-hmm.
That was the idea, and that was what took the period of time, experimentation, sending it overseas to, we don't have those types of labs here, so sending samples, making extracts, sending samples overseas to get tested, and eventually we settled on a formulation that was competitive, because if your dilution rate for it, let's say your product is 1 capful per gallon,
Mm-hmm.
and your competitor is a 1/4 capful per gallon, they're going to beat you in the market.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a dilution rate or a mixing rate that's competitive. You have to have a quality product, and you have to have the requisite labs tested out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a teacher at the time. I had started this business part-time. Yeah,
What subject were you teaching?
I taught physical education, man. Seriously.
That's where the cricket comes into play. Okay.
So here's the thing. You have to be willing. Again, if you're staying true to your vision, eat dry bread, eat crackers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And fund the research, right? And the help will come. From there we did that. We put the product on the market by August 2015. And then we partnered with the Fisher Folk Cooperative Society,
Mm-hmm.
and the UNDP came on board, the Global Environment Facility came on board. They put some grant funding in, and we just kept pushing along from there. So it's when people speak about their journey, it sounds so clear cut. I had this idea and I did this. That's not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I had the idea, I tried this, it failed miserably. I learned from that failure, I did something else.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of worked, and we just kept improving from there, and the right help came because we kept persevering.
Do you have a background in science?
Studied chemistry and biology at secondary school.
Secondary school.
So it's not some PhD thing.
Right.
Right. But here's the thing. In the real world, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the people who create things are people who are hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
Are people who are willing to drive them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you academia is important.
Yeah,
I can never discount the importance of academia, but there needs to be a balance between academia and people who are actually going to implement. Because putting my ideas at the time in a journal would not have solved the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to balance that out.
Wow. So what do you say to those listening, our listeners who have a dream, who have something that they have this fire inside of them, there's something they want to do, but they feel like, it may not work, I cannot afford to fail, I cannot leave my 9 to 5 to pursue this, what if it doesn't work out? What words of advice do you have for them?
Well, 2 things. The first one is, you don't have to leave your 9 to 5 immediately.
Mm-hmm.
People ask me that all the time. I taught, and it took me a full year or 2 before I actually made the full-time jump into Algas. And I don't advise people to just say, I have a business, I'm passionate about it. Things will not go. You could sit and plan, you can write all the business plans you want,
Mm-hmm.
you could do all that stuff. It will not
Go according to plan.
That's just how it works. And so I would advise people, start a side hustle, man.
Mm-hmm.
Start a side hustle. You have a job, you notice a need in your community, you notice something, start something on the side. Build that out. Build some clientele. And when you feel comfortable enough that, hey, look, I am putting 10% of my energy into this, and it's matching my income.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if I put 100% of my energy into it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. And the second thing is, we have a lot of self-limiting beliefs, man. Who told you it's not going to work? Who told you you're not going to be able to be successful? Who told you that? You telling yourself. Nobody told you that. And even if people told you that, it doesn't matter. It's what you tell you that matters. So it's a lot of self-limiting beliefs that we have inculcated sometimes from growing up. And you have to tell yourself, look, I believe this is going to work, and I'm going to fight like hell to make it work. And that's just what it is.
So your side hustle, right, has now become your full-time job.
For sure.
Right? Your company, how you pronounce it? Algas?
Yeah, Algas
Algas,
Organic,
right?
yeah.
Tell me about your team now.
Right.
Like, how many people do you have on the team? From being you and your dad experimenting for an entire year, right, to actually rolling out your first product, right, to now. Like, how many people are on that team?
Right, we have a team of 9 people now. We have 2 agronomists, big up to Shamina and Giovannia. They're amazing. We have a production team, Jason, Janelle. I want to big them up as well. They're Alex, MacArthur, and we have a few other persons on there as well, Charlene, Tamara, etc. So the team is 9 people, and that, a lot of these names I call have been with me from the beginning. It's just that they were part-time, and now we're working towards, actually just having them on for even longer now. So the team is 9, and you cannot do it on your own. You just can't do it on your own. If you, if your business is dependent on your capacity as a person, you only have 2 hands and 2 feet, man, and 1 brain. So if your entire business is based on your capacity, it's not going to grow.
So earlier, like a few months ago, 2 to 3 months ago, I read an article locally that the government was training interns on how to process the Sargassum seaweed. Is that part of one of your initiatives, or okay?
They working in collaboration with you?
It was quite recent. It was like at least 2 months, 3 months ago. I think I read that.
That's we are working with the government of Saint Lucia to train 120 young people to actually harvest the material. So that's creating employment that way, and then we will actually collect the material from them, process it. So it's about, and if you look throughout the region, Saint Lucia is the first island or country to actually do something like that in terms of valorizing the seaweed, right? So I'm happy that at least the government has taken that step, right?
And can you tell our listeners which companies have purchased, like locally or even regionally, internationally, have purchased your products?
Like I said, the product is sold island-wide in Saint Lucia. So anywhere you go to, Home Depot, Renwick, Do Farm Supplies, and you name it.
It's on the shelves.
No matter where you go, you'll find the product. Massey, Mega, I mean, you name it. And regionally, again, it's sold island-wide in those countries as well. So it's just pushing it up, and that's it.
And do you have a team like regional, because we know that it's affecting the entire region, not Saint Lucia.
Of course.
And again, you were the first Caribbean native who produced that bio-organic product from the seaweed. Do you have a team in the other islands doing the same?
No. And why is that? Because again, Saint Lucia is the first island where the government has said, okay, there's something of promise happening, we're going to support that.
So you're keeping it home.
So when the other islands decide that they want to actually do something about it, then something happens.
Right.
We can't force that.
Right.
No
Understandable. So how could persons follow you? Do you have any platforms that we could stay connected and see all the developments? Because there's so much more to come with your company.
Sure. Look, Algas is run by a young man. So of course we have a Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram, and on Facebook also, at Algas Organics, for all of them, right? And see what's happening.
All right. And Rankin, of course, we could read more about his story, the feature on issue 24. Dazzle Magazine. How can we get it?
You could go online right now, dazzledemag.com. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel where this episode of Dazzle Hangout will be uploaded.
All right, wonderful. I think this is one of my favorite entrepreneurial stories because it's literally like a come up, you know?
Yeah, it is.
You were teaching physical education, and now look at where you are.
But even with that, like I was telling him earlier, that I was someone who was researching on the seaweed as well, because suddenly we see this plague. When you drive around, on the East Coast, you can actually smell it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really, I really have to commend him. I need to commend him on the great job that he's doing, from being a visionary to actually executing it and having those products in stores, and also partnering with the government and other organizations, community organizations, to more or less get rid of, I would not say get rid, because you can't get rid of it, but to reduce the amount of seaweed on the beach. Recently I watched a documentary on the impact of the same seaweed around the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and it's really bad over there.
We come in there soon, don't worry. Thank you so much for joining us. Rankin, of course, thank you as well,
and thank you
for bringing us another episode of Dazzle Hangouts.